Morning. Good morning. Hi everyone. It's 8:30 Friday morning. I always start with a really soft good morning. How are you? And then I'll end up really loud. Who's on? Anyone want to say hello? Oh, hello Lisa. Good morning. Oops. Very good. Joe and Mazza, I noticed you just put a comment in. Hi Nicole. I haven't had a chance to read it, so if it's anything to do with diets, just pop it into this feed here so I can have a look at it. Hi, Bianca. So today, guys, we're going to talk about the different types of diets, and this is I'm laughing because I was doing a little bit of research on the different types of diets, and there's literally tens and I would say as far as hundreds of different diets out there dating back to centuries. Um, so it was really a bit mind blowing and awakening for me to realize, geez, how many diets there's actually been over the years. Um, and then as I was sort of preparing for today, I've realised I've jotted down 13 or 14 different diets myself. So I'm like, wow, it all adds up pretty quickly. So I guess the point is there's so many different diets out there um, that uh, if there's anything we should learn from it, is that really no one size fits all. And as a naturopath, we certainly work closely with clients because we recognise that there is no one size fits all. You know, what's good for one may not work for another, and vice versa. So it is really about finding what's going to work for that individual. And it's not just about food tolerances or sensitivities or likes and dislikes about food. It's also relationship with the food, lifestyle practices that that individual has, what works for that individual. So it's really important to, I guess, almost nutrition yourself, which you've heard me say in the past about, nutrition yourself accurately or be your own doctor essentially when it comes to nutrition. Morning, Gab. So I just wanted to share with you, I guess, my story and this prepping for today made me think about the first diet or one of the first diets that I went on, which I was about 16 or 17 years old, and there was a dietitian in the area, and she was renowned for getting results. And I was quite a large kid. I was probably size 16 to 18 at the age of 16. So I was quite a big girl. Um, Growing up in an Italian family and growing up in a household where food was absolutely abundant. We had every single Nutella jar, Fruit Loops, Cocoa Pops, potato gems. My friends loved coming to my place because my family just bought pretty much the whole supermarket. And I recognised later that was because they had nothing themselves as a child. So they wanted to just feed us everything. Little that they knew it was, really poor food and to our detriment in the end. But they had good intentions. So I was a really large kid. Anyway, there was this dietitian, um, and she was renowned for getting results. However, she was also renowned for being really nasty and really tough. And I'll never forget, my experience with her because she would scare the crap out of people, and she certainly did. You would go there, you'd get your weigh in every week. You'd spend 10, 15 minutes with her, and if you didn't lose weight, she would, she certainly wasn't shy in saying, and I remember her saying, "Do you want to be fat forever?" Or things like, you've got to keep your mouth shut. So she was actually, you were so scared to go and see her every week that you just stuck to whatever, she told you to eat. Sure enough, I did lose a lot of weight, and by the time I was 18 again, I had pretty much put it all back on. I was 18 and I went out drinking and what have you, but I'd learnt nothing from that experience. I literally had gone from, a size 16 to 18, down to a size 10 to 12, and then popped up again to a size 14 to 16 again. So I was sort of doing that yo-yo thing. And then I guess the next, I should say that dietitian type of diet was a very low calorie diet. I don't know. I don't think she ever disclosed how many calories I was on, but it was just, eat this cracker with this amount of tuna, and that's it, basically. And there was a couple of recipes that she would give me, but it was a very low calorie diet. So I guess the outcome of that was I didn't end up learning anything, and I didn't end up taking away any of those habits to sort of practice for the rest of my life. And then the next diet I went on, I was actually in England. I was probably about 20, 21 or 22, and it was the Body for Life diet. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Body for Life was at the time, a newish 12-week transformation diet, and it really followed a lean protein, healthy carbohydrate diet. And that's it. Okay, fats were not mentioned at all because back then, this is going back 25 years or so, fats were sort of evil and fat made you fat. Little that we knew back then. So it was mostly focused on lean protein, carbohydrates, and eating 6 small meals consisting of those 2 macros every day. So you would eat 6 small meals every day, and every couple of hours you'd be consuming food. It went on the premise that you would do this for 6 days a week, and on the 7th day you could eat whatever you want, so long as you performed 3 45-minute aerobic exercises throughout the week. Okay, so that was sort of the structure of the Body for Life 12-week transformation. Oh, hi, Joe. Good morning. Just wrote that I really don't believe in dieting. I love food too much. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Coming from a European background, I know how that feels. So Body for Life, yeah, that sort of didn't last long either. I sort of took a little bit away from that in the sense where I would try and stick to this 6 small meals a day. And I certainly, at that stage, was exercising quite regularly anyway. I'd started exercising earlier. But again, my weight had fluctuated up and down post this Body for Life situation as well. So there are already 2 different types of diets that I had experienced in my early years. But I guess in sort of the last 10 years, as a naturopath and a fitness professional, we've really learned that dieting is really about restricted eating. And it doesn't work, it's not sustainable. That's why you'll probably hear me more speak about building lifestyle habits. But when it comes to different types of diets, we sort of categorise them into 3 different types. So there's your weight loss diets, which those 2 I've already mentioned. And then you've got your therapeutic type of diets, which are more your health-based diets, people with illnesses, which I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then more of your lifestyle type of diets or eating plans. And I'll mention a couple of those. So just going on, we'll start with the therapeutic diets. They're things like, your elimination diet. And some people may have not heard of, say, the elimination diet or FODMAP diet or SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Things like autoimmune and anti-inflammatory diets. Those are all health-related diets specific to improving the condition or the illness of the individual. So, for example, the elimination diet, is something that I have prescribed with and worked very closely with clients in the past. particularly if they've got sensitivities or allergies and things like that. But it is not a diet to be done long term, and that's a real key. It's a diet to be done monitored and for a very short period of time. So the elimination diet, we start with 2 weeks only. And then we gradually begin to include certain foods and certain and monitor the response, the body's response based on those new introductions and the quantities of those introductions. So it's very carefully monitored type of diet. The unfortunate thing with those sort of diets is when people get wind of it, they tend to get stuck in those types of diets, and they can have a real detrimental impact to that person's health, because they're not designed for weight loss, and they're not designed for improving athletic performance or body composition. They're literally designed to improve the health and the condition of that individual. Um, I guess so. I have done elimination diet for myself, having experienced really severe eczema um, throughout my life. So elimination diet was something that really worked well for me, but again, it is monitored. And it's a progression. So illnesses such as IBS, adrenal fatigue, gut sensitivities, leaky gut syndrome, things like that um, can be drastically improved by following some sort of therapeutic diet, so long as it's monitored by a practitioner and someone who's experienced in that particular diet. But just to mention, the anti-inflammatory diet or the autoimmune diet has been around for a very long time in the natural health world. But recently, and I'll say recently in the last sort of 10 to 15 years, it's been repackaged and pretty much labelled the paleo diet. So the paleo diet is simply an anti-inflammatory and an autoimmune promoting diet. So there is actually a diet now called AIP, which is autoimmune paleo. And basically the paleo diet removes sugars, removes dairy, removes legumes and grains, anything that's been tarnished by modern day farming. It has been removed from that eating plan, which and it promotes a lot of meat and veggies, anything from the ground, which ultimately is reducing inflammation in the body. Hence the anti-inflammatory, where the anti-inflammatory diet name comes from. So people are getting a lot of really good results from paleo, and it's becoming more of a lifestyle type of diet, simply because it removes a lot of the inflammatory foods. And it has the ability also to improve the gut diversity, which people have not been, there's been no focus on that prior to, say, paleo coming into play, unless you had some specific illness or condition and went and saw some sort of allied health practitioner. So yeah, the paleo diet really it comes from an anti-inflammatory background and an autoimmune correction background, and it's now become more of a lifestyle type of diet. The only thing with and it's not a real issue, but the first thing people say is paleo, it removes dairy. So, we're not going to get enough calcium, which I guess the key thing is that calcium comes from other food sources and not just milk. In fact, we can get some better quality calcium from leafy greens, from nuts and seeds, organic tofu. So the paleo diet, really promotes those sorts of foods. Therefore, people are getting their calcium intake without a problem. One thing about calcium is, calcium is made in the bones, but phosphorus is another mineral that is found in fast foods, it's found in preservatives, it's an additive. And what phosphorus does is it pulls calcium out of the bones. So sometimes it's not really a calcium deficiency, it's that we're consuming too much phosphorus. So it's just something to be mindful about calcium, is that sometimes it's not we need more calcium, it's that we might just need to reduce phosphorus intake. So that's a paleo type of diet, and that that sort of leads into a bit of a lifestyle type of diet, that one. And then I guess the next diet is really Holly, you mentioned this one, which was the ketogenic diet. Um, last 5 years, ketogenic diet has really become quite a popular diet. The traditional ketogenic diet is 5% carbohydrates, 15% 15% of protein, and around 80% of fat. That is your traditional ketogenic diet. Now, the ketogenic diet again has been around for over a century, and in fact, it was prescribed to particularly children with epilepsy. Okay, so doctors sort of came up with this diet and found that it was having a lot of beneficial effects on the nervous system by reducing glucose and asking the body to work on a fat fuel source called ketones. So how the ketogenic diet works, or the ketosis works within the body, is the body runs out of glucose, and glucose is the preferred fuel source for the body. Okay, glucose comes from carbohydrates, turns into sugars within the body, and it's called glucose. So glucose has a maximum capacity, and once we use up all the glucose within the body, then the body asks the liver to break down fats, and it begins to use that as fuel, and those are called ketone bodies. So the body begins to use ketones instead of glucose, ketones broken down from the liver, for fuel source. Now, the delicate thing around this is, for generations, your body has been functioning on glucose. So it's a very delicate, very delicate diet that if we're not constantly in ketosis, and you start to sway with a little bit of carbohydrates here and there, the body's going to instantly flip back into using glucose as a preferred fuel source. So remaining in a really high fat content intake and in ketosis is really challenging for some people. Other people are very what's called fat adaptive, and they're the ones that feel great, find it very easy to remain in ketosis and on a ketogenic diet. Not everyone will respond so well to a ketogenic diet. I've known some people to get really sick, really unwell from a ketogenic diet. Their body's not adapting to being so fat fueled. So just be really mindful of that. The other way of producing ketones in the body is through fasting as well. So fasting can have, and fasting for a long period of time, again, it is a delicate, it's a delicate protocol to fast consistently, to fast ongoingly. Not even a cup of coffee, because that can break a fast. So it's a very delicate way of restricting calories or following a particular diet in order to achieve a result. It's a drastic way as well. Some of the cons with the ketogenic diets is that it does lack B vitamins overall, and it does lack some magnesium and potassium as well. So as long as we're supplementing with some of those minerals and vitamins, then and you're feeling quite good and energized on the diet, and you're able to sustain that type of macro ratio and that lifestyle, then there might not be a problem for yourself. But those are all the things that you really need to consider when taking on some form of restricted eating. So then we've got what else have we got here? Oh, the vegan and vegetarian diet. So vegetarian diet is vegetarian would normally just stay away from meat, but they will still consume eggs and some fish. Some might just be more of a pescatarian type of diet for that individual. A vegan, however, removes all eggs, honey, anything meat, and anything that comes from an animal from any type is removed from that diet. The bonus of a vegan diet is it's heavily weighed on plants, so vegetables. So the good thing about a vegan diet is people that are vegan will be consuming, if they're doing it well, because we can do vegan not well as well. But if they're doing vegan very well, then they are consuming really high amounts of, plants and vegetables, which most people are not getting enough of. So they're feeling really energized. They're feeling really good because they're pretty much overloading their body with so many complex vitamins and minerals that people are just not getting enough of anyway. So that's the sort of benefit of vegan. I guess the downfall with vegan is that we will miss out on B vitamins, particularly B12, iron, omega-3s, and an amino acid taurine. So, again, as long as we're supplementing with those particular supplements, then there shouldn't be a problem for yourself. But it is something to monitor how you're responding to that particular food plan or that lifestyle. Okay. So the next diet I had written down was the ultra low fat diet. This one was, I think I'm going back in time now. This one was probably in the 70s and 80s. So basically similar to the Body for Life diet back then. It was pretty much no fat, because fat was, I guess, less researched, and we didn't know enough about fat production in the body and the benefits of fats in the body. But it was basically high protein, high carbohydrates, and pretty much no fats at all. So now we know that good healthy fats are vital for hormone production. And if we don't have sufficient hormone production, it can lead into other conditions related to the thyroid or the adrenals. It can lead into conditions with the digestive system. If we're not getting enough fats, the gallbladder is not producing enough bile, so there's limited amount of bile flow happening within the body. Our metabolism can go down, and we certainly are not increasing any muscle mass. So our body composition can change if we're eating no fat at all by what's referred to as skinny fat. You might have heard it before. Well, skinny fat is simply a body composition term that says it's we have high amounts of body fat and very little muscle mass. Whilst the person still may look and perceive to be skinny, their body composition numbers may tell a different story. Okay, so that was the ultra low fat diet. A more recent one is the Fast 500. The Michael Mosley, he had the Fast 500, and then, so the way the Fast 500 works is you're on 800 calories a day for 2 weeks. Okay, very, very low amount of calories for a minimum of 2 weeks. And then you move into a 5 and 2, which is 5 days on a Mediterranean diet and 2 days on the 800 calorie diet, intake. Now, extremely low. It is a drastic weight loss diet, and just simply not sustainable. Dangerous in the sense that it can cause some real psychological issues for people, um, with that drastic yo-yo effect of losing weight within the first 2 weeks, and then gradually, not learning anything from it, but gradually the weight will creep up, within the next couple of months again. So a lot of psychological issues can come out of those drastic, low calorie diets. So we're also damaging our metabolism. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, one of the problems with all these types of diets is, people get stuck. They get stuck in that first phase. And in this instance, let's say the 800 calories a day for 2 weeks is the first phase. They kind of get stuck there. It's not intended to be for any longer, and it's actually very dangerous to be running off 800 calories a day. So that's the fast 800, and 5 and 2 diet. What else have I got here? Oh, I've got the carnivore diet has become a little bit popular. So that is literally just meat, eggs, fish only. Protein, which, protein's fantastic. I'm a big fan of protein. However, too much of the one thing, there's always going to be some deficiencies of another. So it's really high in omega-3, great animal fats. So you're still getting your fats, they're animal fats, in the carnivore diet, but it really does lack a lot of vitamins and minerals because, there's no plant-based vegetables in there at all. Vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, vitamin C. We're not getting any antioxidants, very minimal to no fibre at all. And all of this can have a huge impact on the bacterial diversity of the gut. And in fact, any of these drastic type of diets can really have long-term effects on our gut microbiome diversity, which can, in the end, can cause a lot of problems health-wise, because the gut and the digestive system is really central to our health and optimal well-being. So something to be mindful of about that. Last week, when we did the macronutrient split, you might have remembered that I suggested starting with the 40-30-30 macro split. Now I'm 40, and those that are probably my age or a little bit older could possibly remember that Jennifer Aniston in the 90s, I think it was, went on what's called the zone diet. So the zone diet is essentially that 40-30-30 split. So 40% of carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 30% fats. So Jennifer Aniston was real ambassador for that, I guess, the zone diet. But it's more of a well-balanced diet to start with, particularly, for people that are looking to really just develop some good learning eating habits and understand the difference between the three macronutrients, and function really well on all levels. It's a great starting point. So it's probably one of the better, well-balanced kind of diets. Then I mentioned in the post that there's a new diet called the zombie apocalypse diet. I'd only just heard of this one, but it literally, basically, if zombies were to take over the world and we would have no supermarkets, no pharmacies, no nothing, it's based around growing, catching, and foraging everything. And it's actually a real thing. This environmental reporter, he goes on to eat crickets and all sorts of different things that wouldn't fit into my palate, that's for sure. But as you can see, like the diets, there's endless amounts. The key thing around food and nutrition is working out what works best for you. any kind of drastic diet long term is going to have a negative impact. But lifestyle, what works for you, figuring that out, understanding that food is your fuel, absolutely, and there's some really good quality food sources out there, and really starting to embrace that as part of your daily routine. Sure, in today's society, we probably need a couple of boundaries around food, but really some healthy routines and some healthy boundaries around that is going to give us some long-term sustainability on good body composition, feeling energetic, sleeping well, having some clear skin, allowing our organs to function correctly and properly, is really what we should be focusing on, rather than drastic weight loss diets. So I hope that has given you some information about the different types of diets. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments, and I will answer them. Thanks for tuning in again, guys, and let's all have our fingers and toes crossed for this Sunday's announcement. Hopefully we can open up in the next couple of weeks. Have a great day. See ya.